headlines start to twist. Yeah. He's digging through the stories, ooh, finding all the things you missed. Talking Super Bowl ads, old films in modern trouble. If the world's too loud, he cuts it down to the subtle. So turn that down, 'cause you know who's talking. Ooh, if there's truth in the static, Tom Gulley, from where you're looking. Ooh, you gotta dial G for Gulley. 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 Sunrise greets him with a golden crown. Tom Gulley's ready, no time to slow down. His voice a river, smooth and deep. He's got the stories that make the city weep. Walking streets where legends grow. Everywhere he stops, they already know. Tom Gulley goes to town. Oh, he lights it up, never lets it down. Tom Gulley goes to town. He's the man they cheer, the talk of the town. Oh yeah, yeah. Woo, yeah. Woo, yeah. Barbershop chatter, a wave and a grin. Coffee shop wisdom, let the tales begin. The baker hands him a loaf with a smile. Tom, you're the man who makes life worthwhile. A mic in his hand, the airwaves ignite. He spins a story, he turns on the light. Listeners gather from far and wide. Tom Gulley's words, a city's pride. Tom. He lights it up, never lets it down. Tom Gulley goes to town. He's the man they cheer, the talk of the town. Tom Gulley goes to town. Oh, he lights it up, never lets it down. Tom Gulley goes to town. He's the man they cheer, the talk of the town.
Tom Gulley's got a mic in his hand. Ooh yeah, talking Bigfoot tracks in the sand. Hole punches, spiders, conspiracies tight. He's podcasting strong, deep into the night. From the man from UNCLE to the Motown scene. He's dropping gems like you never seen. Oh, you know Tom Gulley, he's the podcast king. Say what? Ladies man with a smooth, sweet swing. Bigfoot, spider, and 9/11 schemes. Tom's a man of your wildest dreams. Tom Gulley, you've got charm, got wit, and a silky flow. Oh yeah, talking mysteries only Tom would know. From R&B to the funk
everybody. What's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking? Little surprise show here for you on a Saturday night, November 22nd, 1963, a date that will live in infamy for a lot of people. And I happen to live right here in Dallas, Texas. And, if you live here, you can't possibly forget about this day. It's a day that nobody can forget. Let me see. I forgot to do something here to get my... Yeah, here we go. That's the guy we all know. Hey, do me a favor. Like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, even if you're watching this on demand and not live. We could really use the help. And that helps us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing algorithm. Plus, we do have super chats. We do have memberships, gifted memberships, all those great things. We also have the PayPal, where you give the most, I get the most, Google gets nothing. And all of that stuff is in the description of the show, if not in the chat. So appreciate that. If you can help us out just a little something for the effort, as we like to say in the trades. And tonight, let me tell you, Randy is here. Says he's up and nothing's going on. Well, I hear you, big fella. That's why I decided to do a show. But thank you for being here, Randy. Appreciate that. If that is your real name, I got to start looking at the YouTube chat. It's in real time. The streaming software that I'm using, OBS, is not in real time, sadly, at the moment. So I'll put this up. Oh, and we get to hear the unwanted ad that I make nothing on. I make like 3 cents for every 42,000 of them that show. This thing's even going to cooperate with me. We'll skip that. And then I'll put and then I'll shut that guy up. Beautiful. 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 Normally, on our scheduled show during the week, we have a lot more. He says, it's me, but it suits a chef. Oh, it's Randy, the chef. The chef is here. YouTube's doing a weird thing where it kind of goes back and forth, but it's not using people's avatar names. You know, it's using some other name. I'm not in favor of it. I'm not in favor of it at all. You know what? I don't think I'm even... Well, I kind of have to. I was going to say I'm not even going to watch this, and I don't think I am. I'm not going to watch it. I'm just going to watch what I'm doing here and hope that it's coming across the internets properly. Now, there I'm looking at the blank screen being encoded. That's fabulous. November 22nd, 1963, the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Let me turn this up. There we go. The assassination of John F. Kennedy. You could talk to 100 people. You could get 100 different versions of what actually happened. So I thought what we do tonight is really 3 things, maybe 4. We got a goal tonight. I doubt we'll reach the goal. If we're going to reach the goal, it'll be in the super chats. I prefer the PayPal. Ooh, do we like that PayPal? The 3 things we want to do tonight are, number 1 is to talk about the facts. The things that we actually know, right? This says the video is not receiving enough. Well, it looks like it's streaming fine. I don't understand. It gives me errors that are weird. I'm just going to say it. They're just weird. Yeah, nothing to do about it. Nothing I can do about it. Nothing I can do about it. It's when I go to the higher one, it says I'm giving it too much. It's very temperamental. Anyway, I want to do 3 things. The first thing is to talk about the facts, the things we actually know, the things that are real. The second thing is to talk about the conjecture. What are things that might have been accepted as official narrative, but that we really don't know, that we don't have actual tangible proof of. And then the last thing is that I want to look at the killing of Officer J.D. Tippit, which many times gets lost in the shuffle of all of this, right? And then if we reach our goal, then I will play a podcast that we did, myself and my good friend Dave Michaels, who used to work for the Dallas Police Department. And we will just go ahead and, play the podcast of when we were at Dealey Plaza. We were actually on the site of these unfortunate events of November 22nd, 1963. So I'm going to try to do a couple things because I am noticing some choppy video, which heretofore has not happened with OBS. It's always a surprise when you're doing the show of the things that are going to happen. Oh, that might be a problem there. Let's see if this will clear things up a little bit for us. So I'm going to start showing some photos, and we're going to go through the official narrative a little bit. And we're going to talk about the things that we actually know, the things there's no dispute on. And then we're going to cover some things that you might believe are factual, that are empirical fact, but that really, not so much. Not so much. Now, what we know is that, let me get this photo here. On November 22nd, 1963, John F. Kennedy was shot on the streets of Dallas, Texas. We can't deny that. That's never, ever, ever going to be disputed. Can't be. What we know is that as a result of those wounds, he passed away. We know that John Connolly, who was in the same car with him, and you can sort of see in this photo a little bit, sitting in front of him waving. He's partially obscured by the automobile. He was also wounded. We know that a man was arrested on that day. He was not arrested at the scene. He was arrested in the Texas Theater. A man's name was Lee Harvey Oswald, who you see here. We know that for a fact. What we don't know for a fact is that Lee Harvey Oswald fired those shots. Now, many people, including myself, believe that he did fire some shots. But the truth of the matter is that on the day he got a ride with a friend to his job at the Texas School Book Depository, he was seen in the upper floors of that building. When he arrived at work, he had a long, slender package with him, which was wrapped in sort of butcher paper, that he claimed was curtain rods. But on that day, no one ever saw Lee Harvey Oswald with a rifle. Not one person. Not a single person saw him with a rifle. We know that the route that they took was one that required, and this was a matter of some debate and discussion with the Secret Service on that day, that the route that they took past the old courthouse onto Houston Street and then that hard left-hand turn on Elm Street was one that would require the vehicle to slow down quite a bit, to almost a standstill, given the number of vehicles in the motorcade and whatnot, as it passed the Texas School Book Depository. Now, we know that. And you can see the route there on the screen. We know that the Kennedys arrived in Fort Worth and had an event that morning, and then took a plane to Dallas Love Field, where they landed. This is them arriving. If I was to widen this photo, which I easily could, you would see that the wing of the airplane is actually overhead, but I zoomed in to show that occurring. We know that at 12:30 Central Time, shots rang out. I'm not going to bother showing you all the photos of this. Certainly not the Zapruder film that you're all familiar with. Here's a shot that we don't, and here's a photo that we don't often see. People that follow this sort of thing do, but this photo was taken by a woman named Mary Mormon, and it was taken just seconds after the first shot, split second after one of the shots. And you can see in the background that white sort of, there's a tree right in front of it in the upper left-hand corner. That is the grassy knoll. The grassy knoll, if you've ever been to Dealey Plaza where these things occurred, it's rather unambiguous. It's not like strikingly marked with anything. It's just a slight hill, and behind it is a picket fence, and you can actually park there from the back side, and which I did in this particular day when we went to the museum that's in the school book depository, and not know that you're parking on the other side of the grassy knoll. You walk on the other side of the fence and you're like, wow, there it is. It's just a place. It is as normal and everyday looking as the right-hand side of the photo, with a slight hill and some brickwork, some masonry. That's all it is. It's not an official place, I guess is what I mean to say. And right here is some photos of a family that took cover by ducking down because of the shots. As you can see, there's a few people with cameras and stuff standing up, others quite sensibly dropping to the ground. But that is the grassy knoll. That's it. Just some trees and kind of a wall there. That's it. Randy says, get you some soup. Yes, I don't need soup. Please, no soup. Please. I appreciate the offers of soup, but let's have no soup, please. Please. Now, these are sort of things we know, things we don't know. Let me get back to there we go. We had several eyewitnesses, people who saw a gun sticking out of the window. This is the viewpoint of a man named Howard Brennan. And I believe that this photo, it's not clear in the research that I did. This photo was either taken from his viewpoint or that's him sitting sort of on the edge of that wall that borders that little pool there. And as you can see, the B, the area that's B, is actually where the shots came from. I don't know why they circled the A. I have no idea whatsoever. But that's where the shots actually came from. And this is a viewpoint from what they called the sniper's nest. Now, it's one of the things about this assassination that has always troubled me is that they found the casings for the shots that were taken, and they were in a straight line and perpendicular. I don't think that's possible. Anyone who's fired a weapon that ejects a casing knows it's much more haphazard than that. Much more haphazard. But they were in a line, in a row. Oh, goodness me. My good friend Randy has... I see what he's saying. He says, get you some soup. He's been kind enough to give us a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Randy. Thank you, Chef. I should say Chef. Appreciate that very much. So that's the view from the sniper's nest. Important to remember, this was in late November. And if you go there today, the trees have all grown much higher, obviously, after 62 years. And in late November, there would not have been nearly the amount of foliage on those trees. Those trees very likely would have shed, even in Dallas weather, would have shed some of their leaves. So that particular shot would have been even easier than it appears there. Excuse me. One of the things that we know is that the day after this event, Jack Ruby was allowed to, and he was known to the police in Dallas, and he was allowed to simply walk down a ramp and get within feet of Lee Harvey Oswald and do what he did. Now, you know, you can see actual live broadcast footage of this if you really want to. It's on YouTube because it was broadcast live. And members of the press knew who he was too. Everyone was shouting at him by his first name. This is the camera that Abram Zapruder used on that day. As you can see, it's marked as FBI evidence on the side with that tag there. It was an 8mm camera, not to be confused with Super 8. 8mm is a much wider format. I actually used to have and use an 8mm camera, not too different than this one. Mine was not a Bell and Howell. It was a, I want to say it was a Panaflex or something. It was not Bell and Howell. But that was the standard format. And believe it or not, a lot of people that owned a camera had a 16mm camera, which is really nice. They've actually shot movies that you've seen on 16mm cameras. But this was an 8mm format camera. Also interesting to note, if you actually look at the film that was recorded, this particular camera, you got the 3x4 image that you would show on a projector later. But that camera actually recorded off to the sides. So there was more film than was actually displayed. And you can find this online too, with sprocket holes in it and everything. There was much more than you've seen in your typical on television look at this. That's kind of the way it was processed. By the way, there's a very interesting film called Parkland, and it chiefly concerns the people at the hospitals that took care of both Kennedy and Oswald. But a side story in that film is Abram Zapruder, played by Paul Giamatti, and all of the things he went through on, the day of the assassination and subsequent to that to get the film processed, which was not easy. There were news outlets that they were like, we'd like to process it, but we don't have anything that'll process 8mm. And then I think they went to, it was either RC. It was one of the major film processing companies, and it was local, I think, and had it processed there. They made 3 copies. One was for the authorities, one was for Zapruder, and I think Life magazine was involved in some way in getting a copy for themselves as well. So all of that went on. A lot of stuff to process in this. If you really are someone interested in it, it is such a voluminous amount of information and a lot of moving parts. Billy Bob Thornton plays one of the chief investigators in Parkland and does a great job as usual. He's Billy Bob Thornton. What do you expect? Billy Bob Thornton. Even to this day, here in Dallas, there is on Elm Street, as you can see, there is an X on Elm Street where President Kennedy was at when he was struck. I personally don't understand why that would occur or the significance of it, but that's the way it is. Stone Crab is here, says, howdy, gang. Hello, sir. How are you doing? I don't know why they do this. I mean, I'm not against it, but it's like, do you really want that to be... The thing about this area is Dealey Plaza. If you go there, it's not like going to a historical battlefield. It's not like going to Alcatraz. It's an actual place. It's an actual part of a city. Yes, without question, there are the grassy knoll is there. You can see it. You can walk on the sidewalk just as it exists there, right past it. And if you didn't know about Dealey Plaza, you wouldn't think anything of it. You'd say, well, I'm just walking down a typical place in a typical city. Only it's not. I studied this my whole life, from when I was 10 years old. I read all the volumes of the Warren Commission report. I wanted to know everything I could about it because my grandparents were very fond of President Kennedy. And I'd seen all the photos, aerial photo, everything. And I had a business meeting in Dallas once. And I actually parked on Houston Street, thinking nothing of it. And I walked down Elm Street where this meeting was, thought nothing of it. And as I'm walking down the sidewalk, I suddenly think to myself, this seems really familiar. What is it about this place? And I looked forward down the street, and that's where I saw the triple underpass. And I looked off to the right down a ways, and I saw the grassy knoll, and I went, oh my God, I'm in Dealey Plaza. Now, nobody when this meeting was set up said, we're in Dealey Plaza. Nobody mentioned it. There's not a sign as you drive in that area, this is Dealey Plaza. Nothing. And it's eerie. To me, anyway. It gives you pause. It makes you go, well, this is where it happened. This is the place this happened. And it's in use, just like any major city would have, a place that's in use. And if you walk in front of the grassy knoll area, certainly this time of year, I mean, if I'd have gone down there today, this would have been true. There are groups of people, and people who make, I would assume, a good bit of money or perhaps even a living discussing this. There's tourists, and they're handing out pamphlets. There's actually bus tours that you can take in Dallas where they go to the grassy knoll in front of there. They go to the sixth floor museum, which is an amazing museum about the events of that day, which is located on the sixth floor of the Texas School Book Depository where this happened. They have a recreation of the sniper's nest in there. It's not the actual boxes, but they had replica boxes printed with the actual stuff that's on them. And it's in like plexiglass. You can't go in that section, but there's a window right next to it, 2 feet to the right, where you can look out, and you're pretty much looking out the same angle. There's the car tour that will take you to Lee Harvey Oswald's boarding house room, which has been pretty much untouched for the last 60-some years. They take you by the Texas Theater, which we'll talk at later, and it's where Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested. I'm sure will take you to the site of the shooting of Officer J.D. Tippit, which I think gets lost in this a lot, which is unfortunate. But when you live here, you have this thing that happens every November 22nd or so. So we don't really know that Lee Harvey Oswald fired these shots. It's very, 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 very likely. There's some controversy surrounding the Mannlicher Carcano rifle and the appearance, someone holding up a rifle after the shooting. There's the whole issue of were there shooters in the grassy knoll. There's ludicrous things about a guy with an umbrella or someone shooting from a street. I can go over the conspiracy theories on this another show. I don't want to do that today. Some of them are just absolute science fiction. The grassy knoll, there is some at least legitimate validity to discuss that. It is not beyond the realm of plausibility to discuss that. We could do a whole show just on Lee Harvey Oswald. Defected to the Soviet Union, was a Kennedy fan apparently for a while, and then some decisions about Cuba made him change his mind. I mean, we could go on for a day about that. But here are some things we do know. And when I mean we do know them, there are eyewitness accounts. Okay? Right here. And if you notice, this is the corner of 10th and Patton. And if you notice, sort of 2/3 on the way to the right of this, there's a very large street light. And at the bottom there is a plaque attached to it. Well, that is a plaque in memorial of J.D. Tippit. And this is the location where J.D. Tippit was shot. Let's see here. Oswald left the depository and took a bus to his boarding house after this stuff occurred, whether he did it or not. And at his boarding house, he's alleged to have retrieved a jacket. He was not wearing a jacket in the morning, just a short-sleeved shirt, and a revolver. And at about 1:12 p.m., 45 minutes after the shooting, he spotted Oswald walking in a residential neighborhood of an area of Dallas called Oak Cliff, right here at this street corner. Okay? Now, this is J.D. Tippit. This is the photo that was released by the Dallas Police Department after his killing. And by the way, J.D. Tippit served in World War II. He was volunteered for the paratroopers, which was a very newly formed part of the airborne forces. He went to Europe. He was in the 513th Parachute Infantry Regiment, part of the 17th Airborne Division. Was part of Operation Varsity, the airborne crossing of the Rhine River. Got a Bronze Star. And came back home, worked for a stove company, and then he worked for Sears Roebuck in their installation department. He was a farmer and a rancher for a while. Then he decided to become a police officer and joined as a patrolman in 1952. So he'd been in the police department for 10 or 11 years. Earning $490 a month, which is about $5,000 a month in today's money. And he had 2 part-time jobs. He worked at Austin's Barbecue on Friday and Saturday nights and at the Stevens Park Theater on Sundays. This guy was a hard-working guy. So he was working the beat number 78. In Oak Cliff, which was a residential area of Dallas. And at the time, I imagine it was a very nice residential area. I've been there. It's been gentrified lately. The homes are sort of those World War II era homes. They're very nice, very well built, not huge. As I said, it's been gentrified. It's not the greatest necessarily neighborhood in Dallas anymore. It's getting better because it's being sort of reborn. But at the time, it was probably a quiet, pleasant little neighborhood. About 15 minutes after President Kennedy was shot, J.D. Tippit received a radio order to go to Oak Cliff as a part of the police response to what had happened. They wanted to concentrate the police presence at the center of the city. And at 12:54, it's 24 minutes after the assassination, he radioed in that he had gotten there. Okay? Now, by then, all of the patrolmen and all of the police in Dallas had received radio broadcasts describing the suspect. Slender white male, early 30s, 5'10", about 165 pounds. And Oswald was slender white male, only 24 years old, though. 5'9", so okay. And estimated to be about 135 pounds. And when Tippit got that broadcast, he said the very last things anyone heard him say, which was 10-4 over the police radio. Now, at approximately 1:10, 1:15, he was driving on East 10th Street. Let me just go back to this right here. As you can see, 10th Street is the left to right street. Patton is the street that's sort of coming at us here. And at that intersection, he pulled alongside a guy who he thought was close enough to the police description to talk to him. Oswald, let me just show you. The FBI later simulated this. And this is the simulation of, let me move this a little bit and get it more centered. OCD. This is the simulation that they did. They had the police car there. You have an officer who would be Officer Tippit, and then a guy in a suit, which is not how Oswald was dressed. He had a sort of a light jacket on. But Oswald walked over to Tippit's car and exchanged words with him through the vent window. Now, for those of you too young to remember, a vent window, you had your regular roll it up, big glass window, and then there was a little triangular window that you could sort of unhook and open up to vent your car. Cars not with as great of air conditioning as, back then as they are now. Tippit opened his door, starts walking to the front of the car, and as he did so, Lee Harvey Oswald drew his handgun and fired 4 shots very quickly. 3 of them hit Tippit in the chest. As he lay on the ground, another shot hit his right temple, which instantly killed him. His body was transported from the scene by an ambulance to Methodist Hospital, and only 10 minutes after this happened, he was pronounced dead. So, a short time later, well, we'll get into that in just a second. Right now, I want to show you this. This is a woman, and as you can see, she's on that street corner, 10th and Patton, and that's her standing at the corner from which she saw the killing. There's other people that actually witnessed this happen. So when I say there's things we know and there's things we don't know, there's 3 independent witnesses that saw this occur. It's not something we're conjecturing about. A little while later, Hardee's shoe store manager Johnny Brewer observed Oswald acting suspiciously when police cars passed nearby with their sirens on. It's like, the guy doesn't look quite right with me. And at that point, Oswald, by the way, here is the gun. This is the actual gun that Oswald had on his possession. It's what we might call a Saturday night special, which isn't a specific gun. It's a type of gun that is cheap, normally with the short barrel, typically a revolver. Oswald is suspicious. The police are all over the place. So what does he do? He ducks into this building, the Texas Theater. And he does so without purchasing a ticket. He's in such a hurry, he just blows by, doesn't even buy a ticket. Oswald was poor. He didn't have much, if any, money. I have to think he would have been able to purchase a ticket to a movie back then. The cost was very, very small. Change. We're talking change. We're not talking big bills here. So the theater's cashier calls the police and said, hey, some guy just bolted in here, didn't even pay for his ticket. And when this happened, Oswald goes in, he sits down. The police come up to him and start to question him and decide they're going to arrest him, if for nothing else, for not paying for his theater ticket, right? There's a struggle. Like Oswald hits one of them, and it's a fight. 12 people who witnessed the shooting or its aftermath were in the Warren report. Domingo Benavides saw Tippit standing by the left door of his parked car and a man standing on the right side. He heard 3 shots and saw Tippit fall to the ground. This guy stopped his pickup truck on the opposite side of the street and then watched the shooter flee, and then assisted Tippit. He tried, but he couldn't figure out how to do it, to use the radio in Tippit's car to report the shooting to police headquarters. An unidentified person did use the radio in the car and reported it to the police operator. Benavides' boss, Ted Calloway, he was the head of a used car lot, former Marine. He used the radio, reported the shooting, hearing in response that police already knew about it. Now, Calloway testified that he had seen the shooter with the gun in a raised pistol position and shouted at him, but what the shooter responded with was unintelligible. And then I showed you the picture of Helen Markham, who witnessed the shooting and saw the guy with the gun in his hand leave the scene. She later identified Oswald as the killer in a police lineup that she viewed that evening. 2 women, Barbara Davis and Virginia Davis, heard the shots and saw a man crossing their lawn, shaking his revolver as if he was trying to get the cartridges out of it. And they later found 2 cartridge cases near the crime scene, gave them to the police. 2 other cartridges were handed to a policeman by Benavides. Later that night, Barbara Davis and Virginia Davis were taken to a lineup, and they both picked out Oswald as the man they had seen. A taxi driver, William Scroggins, testified that he was sitting nearby in his cab when he saw Tippit's police car pull up alongside a man. He heard 3 or 4 shots, and then he sees Tippit fall to the ground. He crouched behind his cab. The man passed within 12 feet of him, pistol in hand, muttering what sounded to him like dumb poor cop or poor damn cop. The next day, he viewed a police lineup and identified Oswald as the man he had seen with the pistol. The Warren Commission named several other witnesses who weren't at the scene, but who identified Oswald running between the murder scene and the Texas Theater. They identified at least one of the bullets recovered from Tippit's body as having been fired by that revolver that I showed you. At the Texas Theater, to this day, there is a seat. And the Texas Theater has been renovated a few times on the front. At one time, it was a candidate to be torn down. There was a giant public outcry. Someone bought it and is now keeping it in good stead. So I've been told. Harvey ducked in the movie that was showing, was called War is Hell with Audie Murphy. I doubt he knew that. Anyway, the seat that he was sitting in is marked. And I believe here in Dallas, people like to leave that seat open, you know. Stone Crab says, happy 7th birthday to somebody. I can't say that on today. James Moore says, I always stop to read those signs, those black with gold letter commemorative signs. I do too, James. I do too. Stone Crab says, never met a real life Scroggins. I don't think many of us have met a real life Scroggins, really, to speak of. I've met some Scroggins. I knew a Scroggins once. Let me see if I can find, I have it here. So anyway, that's the arrest anyway. I'll give you some more details on the arrest in a second because they're kind of interesting. But on the evening of the assassination, that very night, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy and the new president, LBJ, called Tippit's widow to express their sympathies. Jackie Kennedy, the widow of John F. Kennedy, wrote a letter expressing sorrow for the bond that they both shared, both of them having lost their husbands on that fateful day. The plight of Tippit's family. Keep in mind, this was a guy that worked 7 days a week. Well, the entire country was moved by his sacrifice, and a total of $647,579 was donated to them. That is the equivalent of $6,650,000 today. One of the largest gifts by an individual was the $25,000 that Abraham Zapruder donated to Marie Tippit after selling his film of the president's assassination to Life magazine. He sold it for quite a sum of money, and Abraham Zapruder was a stand-up guy. He gave $25,000 of it to Marie Tippit. There was a televised funeral service for Tippit, attended by 2,000 people, at least 800 of them police colleagues. In January of 1964, some 3 months later, even less actually, Tippit was posthumously awarded the Medal of Valor from the American Police Hall of Fame. He also received the Police Medal of Honor, the Police Cross, and the Citizens Traffic Commission Award of Heroism. A state historical marker memorializing Tippit was unveiled at the location where the shooting occurred. Tippit's widow married Dallas Police Lieutenant Harry Dean Thomas in January of 1967. They were married until his death in 1982. Marie Tippit later married Carl Flinner, and that marriage ended in divorce, and at that time, Marie resumed using the surname of Tippit. The couple had 3 children: Charles, who died in 2014, Brenda was born in 1953, and Curtis, born in 1958. Marie Tippit died in 2021, at the age of 92 of medical issues. He's been portrayed in 3 movies: JFK, Ruby, and Killing Kennedy. He's also been portrayed in 1977's The Trial of Lee Harvey Oswald and 1978's Ruby and Oswald. Let me see. Sorry, I'm pulling up this. Trying to find this. Well, maybe it's here. Maybe I'll find it here. There was actually quite a back and forth between Oswald and these police officers in the Texas theater, and afterwards, by the way. So there we go. Terry Nee says, "Wasn't me." You were around, buddy. Julian Zeezer's here. Hello, Julian. Nice to see you as always. James Moore says that's really interesting that they marked the seat. It is, isn't it? Stone Crab has been so nice enough to donate $4.99 in a super chat. Thank you so much. He has a purple elephant, which seems enraged. Not an elephant. Looks like maybe it's a rhino. By the way, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all the absolutely free things that you can do to help us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing algorithm. Plus, we do have the PayPal. The description is in the... the details are in the description. That's where you give the most, I get the most, and Google gets nothing. If you'd like to take advantage of that. Goat says, what? Marie Tippit died? I didn't know she was sick. Well, she died because she was sick. Listen to those typing skills. Medical issues did again. I can type really fast. I can type super fast. So here's the deal that went down at the Texas Theater. Why don't I just put that photo up again? Texas Theater is kind of a cool little theater, by the way. It really is. There it is. Boom. There in Oak Cliff. It is in Oak Cliff, however, so go during the day. I swallowed my soda wrong. So there was a Mrs. Julia Postal, and she was the ticket seller at the box office theater of the Texas Theater. She heard the police sirens, and then she saw a man as he ducked into the outer lobby space of the theater near the ticket office. And she was attracted by the sounds of the sirens, so she stepped out of the box office and walked to the curb. Shortly thereafter, Johnny Brewer, who had come from a nearby shoe store, asked Mrs. Postal whether the guy, and I mentioned Johnny Brewer a second ago, he said this guy wasn't acting. He was acting, as we say, hinky. He was acting a little hinky. So he asked this lady, Julia Postal, whether the guy had ducked in and whether he'd bought a ticket. She said, no, by golly, he didn't. And people used to say, by golly, back then. You had to be there. And she turned around, but the guy wasn't there anymore. So Brewer said he'd seen the man ducking into his place of business and he'd followed him to the theater. So she sends Johnny Brewer into the theater to find this dude and check the exits and told him about the assassination and said, I don't know if this is the man they want, but he's running from them for some reason. And then she called the police. Now, the police found Oswald, and he's watching the movie. He's checking out Audie Murphy in War is Hell. And he was sitting alone in the rear of the main floor of the theater, near the right center aisle. Two other theater patrons were searched, at which point Patrolman M.N. McDonald reached Oswald and told him to get on his feet, ostensibly to search him. Oswald rose from his seat, bringing up both hands. As McDonald started to search the waist of Lee Harvey Oswald for a gun, Oswald then struck McDonald between the eyes with his left fist, and with his right hand, he drew a gun from his waist. McDonald struck back with his right hand and grabbed the gun with his left hand, and they both fell into the seats. Three other officers moving toward this melee grabbed Oswald from the front, rear, and side. As McDonald fell into the seat with his left hand on the gun, he felt something graze across his hand and heard what sounded like the snap of the hammer. He felt the pistol scratch his cheek as he wrenched it away from Oswald. Detective Bob Carroll, who was standing beside McDonald, seized the gun from him. As Oswald was handcuffed and led from the theater, he was, according to McDonald, cursing a little bit and hollering police brutality. So there was a scuffle. And he hit McDonald right in the face. And those two had a conversation about that the car. And Oswald was screaming and yelling, and the cop's like, "Hey, you hit me in the face." Because Oswald was claiming they were roughing him up too much. And he's like, you just hit me in the face. You don't get to say anything about anything. Randy says, that looks like the Vogue in Broad Ripple. It is old school like that. Rick says, boom, betwixt the eyes. Rick, is that what you're looking at? Is this a primo show? Well, it is if enough people donate. And remember, don't forget about the PayPal. I think it's in the description. I'm pretty sure. Because then Google doesn't get any scratch, wampum, dead presidents. Ooh, bad joke on today's date, I guess. If anybody wants to be on the show, by the way, I think, well, I'll do that in a while. I don't want to open up Facebook right now and do that whole thing. So let's see here. I gotta look and see real fast if I want to make sure that PayPal information is in the description. Not that anyone will use it, but I'd like to make sure. I'd like to keep the dream alive, really. More than anything, I guess. Let's see here if I can.
Got into a holiday mood.
Yeah, nobody cares. Okay. Daggone it. There, more. Why do you keep making me do more? Yes, it's there. Excellent. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. By the way, nearly everything that we know about the killing of J.D. Tippit is real, is factual. We know it. There's multiple evidences. People were picking him out of lineups. Goat says, this Oswald guy sounds like a real jerk. He does. He does, in fact, sound like he's a real wiseacre. And we may someday do a show just on Lee Harvey Oswald because his story is, but just about everything in this. It's almost like the Tate LaBianca murders with the Manson family. There's so many things that you're like, I don't believe that. And it's like, yeah, I believe it. It's the truth. It's the actual truth. So, yeah. Yeah, it is the truth. Do I want to turn on the I don't know. If somebody wants to be on the show, let me know. If you want to be on the show, you have to call my Facebook page for the Tom Gulley Show in the message section. You open up a message, and then there's a little phone there, and then we talk. But I'm not going to do it unless somebody wants to. Now, I had said what I had said. Wiseacre, such harsh language. I know. I don't like to use that kind of vulgarity on this show, but I had said that I was going to... Oh, Randy's got to go. Good night, everybody. Say good night, Gracie. That's the chef. Good night, chef. Have a good one. I hope you really are having a good one. And thank you so much. Appreciate it. So I had said that if we met our goal, which is not a crazy goal, James, it's my delicate sensibility. It's not a crazy goal that we had, which was, So someone named Adolf says, you don't sound very knowledgeable in this topic, to be honest. Why are you speaking as an authority on it? Who said I was speaking as an authority on it? Does it anywhere say I'm an authority? I know things about it. I'm recounting things about it. I'm going to official documents with actual testimony and delivering them. I don't think, given the screen name that you have here in my lovely chat room, that you're on any sort of ground to question anyone about anything. How long was he on the run until they got him? Well, he was only on the run, if we assume he left the book depository at 12:30 Central Time. He was only on the run for 40 minutes to 45 minutes. It's a little, they know within 5 minutes at what point Tippit approached Oswald on Patton Street. Well, at the corner of Patton and 11th Street. Goat with a lovely donation of $4.99. Thank you so much, Goat. Judy Tester says, I think his name is short for a Dolph Lundgren fan, probably. Yes, a Dolph Lundgren fan. I think you would have to be an authority to tell someone that they don't sound like an authority, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? I don't know. Just post the link for your show in the chat, and we'll all watch it. Anyway, I like saying that to people sometimes because they don't have a show. Anyway, let's see here. And again, if anybody wants to actually be on the show, any wiseacres, any Johnny-come-latelys, any people feeling a little froggy, all you gots to do is tell me, and I'll open up my Facebook page, and you can converse with me via phone message. What do you think about that? Now, I had said that I was going to, if we met the goal, that I was going to play a podcast that myself and Dave Michaels, who actually work for the Dallas Police Department, did from Dealey Plaza. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play like a teaser for it. And then at some point we'll decide whether we want to listen to it or not. It's long, but it's good. I think you know what I mean. I think I gotta. Well, we'll see if I have to turn this down or not.
Here's a few exciting scenes from tonight's episode of The Tom Gulley Show.
Well, we're here in the luxury automobile of Dave Michaels taking the JFK assassination tour.
My background is I was working for the Dallas Police Department. I worked in the physical evidence section, which is now known as crime scene investigation.
We are right now in the grassy knoll, correct?
Correct. You're at the very end of what was a WPA project that was started in 1938 to 1940. This was by order of Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
FDR,
that's correct. And the question is never about who. It's never about Lee Harvey Oswald. It's never been about Trafficante. It's never been about Marcello. It's never been about Clay Shaw. It's never been about David Ferry. It's never been about any of these names I can drop over and over and over again. It's the why.
Yeah.
Why was Kennedy killed? And these are the answers that the public has to ask, because every shot hit. except for one.
Yes, and it bounced off the street, and a fragment of it hit some guy in the cheek.
A guy by the name of Tag over here underneath the underpass, and he was on the Elm Street side of the underpass, where a piece of fragment of concrete went into his chin and lacerated his chin. It's a head-on shot.
Right.
From the 6th floor sniper's perch, looking back up Houston Street. As he makes that right-hand turn, he's looking right at not only Kennedy, but he's got Conley, he's got the Secret Service.
And it's almost a standstill.
It is, because you had to make that right-hand turn. You're only doing 4 miles an hour. Then you're slowing down to make the left-hand turn. Now you're at 3 miles an hour, and he's right in front of you.
Yeah.
So why did you wait till you got on Elm Street?
And no trees either.
Nothing blocking your view. Yeah. So the question begs to be asked, why did you wait till you got on Elm Street?
We just about killed a cat just now.
I almost did. I almost ran over a cat.
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
It's time, America. Mr. and Mrs. North and South American, all the ships at sea, let's go to press.
So sit back, buckle in, place your tray table in its upright lock position, and get ready for big-time radio, friends. It's time for...
Anyway. Oh, we've got some more comments. Real Gamer Hours 96 says, it does seem like you're taking an authoritative stance here, to be honest. What does that mean? Oh, I know. It's troll lingo. It's where you get to say something that really doesn't have any factual basis, merit, or worth. And you get to say, well, it seems like you're taking a stance. Seems to who? What does seems mean? I deal in a world of fact. You don't. Sorry. If I'm taking what you believe to be an authoritative stance, it's probably just because I know more about it than you do. That's probably what's causing that. I hope you recover from your malady. Goat says, young whippersnapper Tom. That was from 9 years ago, I think. 9 years ago. James says, I hope no animals were harmed in the making of this episode. We avoided the cat, if that's what you mean. We ate at the spaghetti warehouse later that day. So technically, I think you would have to say, due to the beef and the spaghetti sauce, some animals were harmed. Goat says, JFK's cat always looks like it's moving so much faster than 4 miles an hour in the Zapruder film. Yes, it was a cat that had darted out on Cedar Springs in front of us, and Dave avoided it. He avoided it. He avoided it. Avoided that. An avoider. Let's see here. What do we want to do? Let's go to the chat. Goat says, I prefer the spaghetti factory over the spaghetti warehouse. They're both good. Maybe it was the spaghetti. I think it was in Dallas, the spaghetti warehouse. I think we had a spaghetti factory in Indianapolis. It's one or the other. I don't want to be perceived as an authority on that. Have somebody pop a stitch. I hate it when people pop a stitch. Let's see here. It's telling me I should engage with my audience. I think there's a way that people can hype this video. I don't know what that way is. Maybe you guys do. If there's a hyping methodology, I don't know what it is. I want to play a funny commercial that I wrote for the end of this episode. Let's see if I can get to it here.
Died at 1.
Oh man, I almost nailed it perfectly. on the street. And as Dave mentioned earlier, it does get busy on the street. Yeah, anyway, that's going to do it. Continuing coverage will now end. And, hey, how you doing? And, well, that'll do it. And until next time.
November 22nd, 1963. Shots ring out in Dallas.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
A mere 3 days later, a man with uncanny psychic abilities predicts the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. He was the man who saw yesterday. The History Channel presents Earl Wooten Jr., the man who saw yesterday. A human being with psychic abilities whose unerringly uncanny predictions baffle experts to this day. Predictions made mere hours after the actual events. Man reaches the moon, and a week later comes the unnervingly uncanny prediction. The Challenger space shuttle disaster predicted just 36 hours after the Challenger space shuttle disaster. And the fall of the Berlin Wall predicted only 12 hours after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Nostradamus, ancient Mayans, Edgar Cayce, and Gene Dixon can all kiss the ass of the man who saw yesterday, Thursday at 8 on the History Channel.
Hey, what do you think about that? Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, listen.
The man who saw yesterday.
The History Channel got like really tabloid. I think they've gotten a little better. But there was a period of time where they were nothing but like Hitler. The Hitler Channel for quite a period of time. Hitler this, Hitler that, and it's just the Hitler Channel. I did some funny Hitler commercials too for the History Channel. Let me see if I can find them. I'll bring them up for you. If you guys like that, just type Hitler in the... Only because they did so many Hitler things. I didn't do it. They did it. Wasn't me. Wasn't me. It was the History Channel. They went ape on Hitler. You know. Oh, here's... Gosh, I think this is all of them right here. Is this all of them right here? Let's see here. Let's pop one of these open. Why don't we give her a listen? Oh, I can still do it, I guess. Whoops, not the way I wanted to open it. Come on, be good to Daddy. Open up here. There we go. There we go. Now we're talking. Now we're cooking with gas. Here you go.
Imagine ancient Sumeria with a leader sporting a small, tiny mustache. Or revolutionary America with the Third Reich instead of the Boston Tea Party. We'll discover a variety of alternative possibilities on the History Channel's What If Hitler Was the Leader of Ancient Civilizations? As What If Hitler Did Some Other Stuff Week continues.
There's another one. They were just trying so hard to do Hitler programming that they might have gone a little overboard. I'll have the sound more in order for this one too, by the
way. Be there tonight on the History Channel as we show you the inside of Queen Nefertiti's crypt. and unveil the secrets Hitler borrowed from the Egyptians on Secret Tips That Hitler Picked Up from the Egyptians, only on the History Channel.
Yeah, okay, here's another one. This is the one they just went way overboard on, I gotta say. Why are you opening that? Don't open. I didn't ask you to open that. Come on. Come on, you scallywag. All right. There you go.
What made Hitler Randy? What kind of woman made Der Fuhrer really want to stand at attention? Learn how Hitler liked to get it on when the History Channel presents Where Hitler Chose to Spawn, as Hitler Rated X Week continues.
How about that one, huh? Let's see here. There's another one. I know there's another one here. I know there's another one here. Trust me, I know my Hitler stuff that I wrote. Better than most. Well, where's the one about Christmas? There's a Christmas one. Where's the Christmassy one? I got a Christmas one. See, I've already blown the fun of you guys wouldn't have known it was a Christmas one if I didn't tell you in front of the whole thing. All right, for crying out. For the love of Pete. All right. Xmas, autosave, Xmas. Okay, Enrix, inbox, Vegas, Xmas party. Wait till our late Christmas shopping special airs again this year. Oh, man. You're going to love that. Come on. Come on. Be good to me. Be good to me, Daddy. Daggone it. I can't find it. I could, but I'm not gonna go through all that rigmarole. Oh, that might do it. Now we're talking. Here you go. Well worth the wait. Well worth the wait in gold. Put that there, kind of. Boom.
A Tannenbaum topped with a swastika. Tiny SS officers in Jesus' manger. See how Adolf Hitler planned the most revered holiday on I'm Dreaming of a Reich Christmas, as Hitler's holiday week continues on the History Channel.
All right, now I've screwed up all of my songs. Yeah, I've done that pretty badly. I'll fix it in a second. Anyway, there you go. I don't think you can hype a live stream. Oh, I didn't know that, Goat. Thank you for telling me that. Stonecrap says it's a fast cat. Julie Tester's laughing. Goat's laughing. That's pretty great. James says this is fantastic. James says it's one thing to see something coming, but it's a totally different thing to have seen something having had happened. Yes. Goat says the man who saw yesterday could have saved us from Hitler. Is there such a thing as an unfunny Hitler commercial? Goat says, hell yeah. Lucas Malago, who, I just want to tell you folks something. You're all wonderful people. Even those people who think I'm an authority. But Lucas Malago there, that fella there, you know what that fella does and did? He's a guy that on Twitter, not only does he follow me on Twitter, but he reposts every single one of my shows that he sees. And he likes them. He likes them and he reposts them. I could show you. Oh, daggone it. I could show you on this thing about things that he does, those things. You know? Yeah. I'm telling you. No, for crying out loud. But he does that, and I appreciate it. It helps so much. But he is generously donated, and he says, what he says is, what if Hitler was Shark Week? Good one, Cumia. Look, I'm not that much into Hitler. Okay? It's not that much. Let me see here. Do I want to just put a fork in this thing? Does anybody want to be on the show? If so, I'll open up my Facebook thing there and people can call in. If nobody does, I suppose, I don't know how much into this topic you guys are. If you are, I can play the Dealey Plaza episode, or I can just try and find some choice moments from it. Open a file. Open a file. Man said, open a file. Okay, so there's where all my La Musica is. What? I don't even understand what half of those files are. And I should. They're mine. Okay. Let me see here. Live from Dealey Plaza. We'll get into this a little bit and see what we got. Me and Dave.
Instruments. Get out of my way. All right. Coverage will continue.
We're not yet at the grassy knoll. We're driving there.
No, you actually brought it up. There? Yeah, you. I was interviewing you, and you are the one that brought it up and mentioned it as we enter the lovely West End district here in Dallas.
Arrested with no arrest reports over here on the by Lemme.
And a deaf guy that came out years later.
Okay, this is when we're actually at the grassy knoll here.
I looked around and said, "Oh my God."
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna retell that dumb story, but that's fine.
Left.
That, and they don't say Thanksgiving; they say Thanksgiving. They don't say Halloween; they say Halloween. Which
they also say fixin' to.
Yes, and you do not say "I'd like to never" like we do in Indiana. I like to never got my foot out of that mud hole.
Yeah, anyway. I'm fixing to leave that mud hole.
And so we're actually close, sort of, to, well, not that close, to Dallas City Hall.
No, we're not. We're not anywhere.
We're not that close. No.
Now, old City Hall.
Yeah.
The original City Hall, before the I.M. building got built, is actually on Commerce Street, and that's the building I worked in when I was with the Dallas Police Department.
We're gonna find parking and then walk around Dealey Plaza and continue our stories. My only regret is that Andre Girard is not here with us, but we'll do our best without him. Okay, so I as a kid was a huge assassination buff. You know, I had all the Life magazines. My grandmother had saved them, and so I moved to Dallas, and I always said to myself, "Oh, I should go down to Dealey Plaza." Well, right after I got here, I was sort of being auditioned for a job, and I came downtown and parked my car, started walking, and I had this faintly familiar feeling. And guess what? I looked around and said, "Oh my God, I'm here." Oh, and I know where we're at right now. Oh boy, is this guy giving a lecture over here to the left? We are right now in the grassy knoll, correct?
Correct. You're at the very end of what was a WPA project that was started in 1938 to 1940. This was by order of Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
FDR.
FDR, that's correct. And Roosevelt, his plan was to put people to work. So what they did is they built a plaza where 3 streets in Dallas converge under an underpass, also known as the Triple Underpass, where the Elm Street, Main Street, which is a 2-way road, Elm Street one way going back to the west, and then Commerce Street going back to the east. So you have all these 3 arteries going underneath a bridge, or railroad bridge, if you will. So they built this plaza, and they named it after John Dealey. John Dealey was the founder, George Dealey was the founder of the Dallas Morning News, which is not that far from where we're standing right now.
Below. And,
now it's below.
Yeah. And and that fence is where, allegedly, there were some hobos, some bums or somebody back there.
The bums were actually being taken back behind here where the railroad tracks are, but they were actually going along Lamar, which is about a block over from where we're at.
They originally spotted by the railroad track. Yeah.
But they were arrested with no arrest reports over here on the by Lemme.
And a deaf guy that came out years later was supposedly right here and saw a bunch of stuff in one of the documentaries I've seen. But yeah, they built a little deal here.
Which, Zapruder was standing on. We're probably, I don't know, about 50 yards from where he was actually standing with his 8mm camera. Now, unfortunately, you can't see, but we're on radio. There's an X in the middle lane on Elm Street, and that's where the fatal head wound is supposedly taking place. In fact, there's an X a little further up the road, up toward Houston Street, which is a little bit further east of where we're at, probably maybe, 20 yards from where this X is, where apparently the first shot was.
And are those... The city didn't put those there. Those were done by the computer graphic. I know a few years ago, one of the big documentaries went up into the book depository, and by recalibrating the magic bullet thing, they never take into account that the seats in that were for display. In other words, one of the seats is raised up, one's dropped down, so that you can see both occupants when they're. And they're off center too. Well, they calibrated for that with the great computer technology that we have now, and then they also got the exact points on the street. So did the city put those X's there, or did somebody else?
No, those are usually done by the people who hold court, if you will, along Dealey Plaza. So they put it out there. The other thing that a lot of people don't understand is at the 6th floor window where the school book depository, where apparently the sniper's perch is allegedly put, there's a couple of trees that are actually in front of that building, and they're Texas live oaks. And in November, and we're on November 27th right now, those are pretty well full with leaves. So you're shooting through high foliage and getting 3 shots off in 5.6 seconds, according to the Zapruder film time footage. This is the one piece of evidence that nobody ever figured out that was going to be there. In fact, here's an interesting little...
Well, the trees are bigger now.
Well, yeah, no, they've actually been cut back. They were cut back...
Well, they got to be taller.
Well, yeah, but they were cut back for the Oliver Stone's movie that was shot, 91, I think.
Well, they've got like an 80-year-old dude on one of these documentaries that goes through all the shots and, with the hand, racking of the whole... He does the whole thing in plenty of time.
He does, but you have to be accurate. Because every shot hit, except for one.
Yes, and it bounced off the street, and a fragment of it hit some guy in the cheek.
A guy by the name of Tague, over here underneath the underpass, and he was on the Elm Street side of the underpass, where a piece of fragment of concrete went into his chin and lacerated his chin. And if you account for that bullet, you've accounted for the 7 wounds that one bullet made between 2 people, and then you have the headshot.
Yeah.
All right. By definition of what I just described, you have a conspiracy. Just by definition, meaning more than one gunman. And the question is never about who. It's never about Lee Harvey Oswald. It's never been about Trafficante. It's never been about Marcello. It's never been about Clay Shaw. It's never been about David Ferry. It's never been about any of these names I can drop over and over and over again. It's the why.
Yeah.
Why was Kennedy killed? And these are the answers that the public has to ask. Because if your government covered it up, then the question has to be, why?
Well, and they sealed those records up for so long.
75 years.
Yeah, it was or 100. I mean,
It was 75 years. I'm wrong here.
FK and Martin Luther King were like 50 years, and the other ones, the JFK was 100. And there's a plaque down there by the street. There's one of the theories that I always find humorous is the one where there was a guy shooting from the street drain opening down there on the street.
Yeah, it's right across from where we're standing, by the way. You can see how small opening that is. And there's no way that would have happened.
No, but we are right here in the grassy knoll. Very restful, peaceful at the moment.
The plaque, by the way, that's down there, that's a national landmark. This is now a national, it's on the National Archives. That was placed, and I can almost imagine what it was like on Thursday, which was Thanksgiving Day. And it was the 49th anniversary of the assassination, because this place gets crowded.
Oh, yeah, and right, it's so weird to be standing here, because where we're standing is where the famous shot of Clint Hill jumping onto the back of the limousine, and the thing finally speeding away underneath the overpass as a Dallas light rail Dart goes over right now. But we are right exactly where the scene that you've seen over millions and millions of times. Yep, it's got traffic flowing through it and everything else. So
this is actually unusual. It's very rare that I've actually been in the plaza and there's nobody here. And it's empty, and it's very, very unusual. There's usually a ton of people just milling around. But I guess new work week and right after a holiday, so I guess everybody's back at work.
Well, and like I said, in one of those one of those buildings up the street here is where I was interviewing for a job, or at least being courted by people that wanted to interview me. And I'm walking, and I'm like, this is so familiar to me. And I went, oh my God, because there's no big sign that says Dealey Plaza as you're coming here or anything. It's just downtown Dallas, and we're right here. Now, was this structure here?
This entire structure that we're standing on and around was built in 1938 and completed in 1940. So this entire plaza, which is the familiar white facades that you have seen on television, you've seen in the Zapruder film, you've seen in the Mary Mormon photograph that was shot from across the Elm Street, where she's shooting back with a Polaroid camera of the fatal head wound. Well, the stone and the brick and the concrete and all that, that's all been here. This has been here forever. Now, next year, the 50th anniversary, they are talking about how they're going to spruce all of this up. We'll see fresh paint. We'll see the cracks fixed, and the entire Dealey Plaza will be fixed up for the 50th anniversary of the assassination.
Now, they turned just right down here, and they were going much slower than the normal Secret Service standards as they were turning down the street there. And
the motorcade came down Main Street, which is the second street over from where we're standing right now. As they came down Main Street, they made a right-hand turn, which, by the way, Houston Street is the street right in front of Dealey Plaza. You can't turn right now. It's a one-way going the other direction. So they turned right, and then they came onto Elm Street. So to make that right-hand turn in front of the Records Building, which is what that building is today, coming down in front of the school book depository, making that left-hand turn, you had to slow down to 3 miles an hour. Now, the question has always been begged, and Oliver Stone's movie and other documentaries wanted to know why, if you're a lone gunman, why didn't you take the headshot from coming down Houston Street?
Yeah.
It's a head-on shot.
Right.
From the 6th floor sniper's perch, looking back up Houston Street, as he makes that right-hand turn, he's looking right at not only Kennedy, but he's got Conley, he's got the Secret Service.
And it's almost a standstill.
It is, because you had to make that right-hand turn. You're only doing 4 miles an hour. Then you're slowing down to make the left-hand turn. Now you're at 3 miles an hour, and he's right in front of you.
Yeah.
So why did you wait till you got on Elm Street?
And no trees either.
Nothing blocking your view.
Yeah.
So the question begs to be asked, why did you wait till you got on Elm Street?
I don't know, but I know this. There's so much crap in that Oliver Stone movie, it's not even funny.
Well, there is.
I mean, because the whole movie's based on Jim Garrison's sort of investigation. And Jim Garrison
pronounced it wrong. It's Jim Garrison. My apologies. I'm only posing as an authority. And I was excited. It was with Dave Michaels. It was in Dealey Plaza. Give a guy a break.
might have done a lot of good things, but he was also a Fruit Loop of the highest order. Some of the things in that trial of his, a guy dressed up as Jesus Christ testified in that trial, and a million other things. There is a website called 100 Errors of Fact in Oliver Stone's JFK, and they just plow through it. It's absolutely hilarious.
The thing about, okay, the bad side is there's fabrication. The good side, however, is that it makes you question.
Yeah.
The Mr. X compulated character, which is basically Pouty, Colonel Pouty.
Yeah.
I mean, what he said is all true. There was nothing fabricated about that discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, he had documentations. It was all true. There was also so if you take that, the question still arise. Why?
Well, the questions arise, but I just have a problem with, and it's not just Oliver Stone. It's a lot of the historical movies that are just so factually accurate. Even Titanic, they go on and on and on about how this is reproduced this ship down to the teacup. It's like, yeah, but the story's not true. You know, there's little
people
tiny
died on it.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's some of the people that are died on it are depicted, but people, the average citizen, isn't smart enough to realize when they're watching JFK. You don't know how many times I've had to tell people, no, that never actually happened. That guy doesn't really exist, and they're like, oh no, it's in the movie. Well, just because it's in a movie doesn't make it, accurate.
The names that were thrown around, the David Ferries, the Clay Shaws, or Bertram, or in Pierre Rousseau, they actually exist.
Sure.
And they're documented, and yes, they had some sort of connection. But the script is a script. It's fabricated words. None that was stated was accurate. Here's a piece that you might want to chew on for a moment. Okay, we are big fans now of certain television series such as CSI, where you have crime scene investigation, and we all know that you don't jump to conclusions. However, when Kennedy was shot, the first reports. He was shot at 12:30 Central Standard Time. The first reports came in at 12:40 on CBS, the first bulletin. And the first bulletin that came out that was read was President Kennedy's been shot. Apparently 3 shots rang out. How the hell do you know? How the hell do you know? You didn't investigate it. You heard 3 shots.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden the American people are already you're being fed by the media. 3 shots rang out. So now the Warren Commission takes that and runs with it. And I don't know if you've read all 26 volumes.
Oh, yes.
Okay. That you want to talk about fabrication?
Yeah.
You want to talk about something that isn't true? Read all 26 volumes. I have. It's the most boringest read in the world, but I've read it.
Well, even if you read the final sort of abridged report.
The 27th volume.
Yeah. There's stuff in there where you're going, well, but he just said something you should probably follow up on, and they go, and they shut him down.
Exactly.
It's just, that doesn't fall into what we're thinking. One of the things that's hilarious to me is that the shell casings that were lined up, and anyone who's ever fired any kind of weapon that ejects a casing,
the brass falls
for it to line up totally perpendicularly perfect, it's just never going to happen.
True, and we're talking about a rifle that's poorly made.
A piece of crap.
It was, how much it cost? It cost $12.50.
Mail order.
Exactly. Had a defective scope, apparently. And, okay, they didn't find a fingerprint on it until after Oswald was dead.
The first gun they held up that said it was the gun wasn't the gun.
No.
And there's all sorts of varying reports of Lee Harvey Oswald's skill as a marksman. There's some people that are like, oh no, he was an amazing marksman, and there's other people that are like, he got Maggie's drawers like crazy. So it just depends on who you talk to, I guess. But
well, I don't know. Did you ever watch the movie Full Metal Jacket?
Yeah.
Okay. And the sergeant who walks around says, Charles Whitman, Lee Harvey Oswald, what do they have in common?
Yeah. U.S. Marines.
Well, not only U.S. Marines, but they were able to hit as a sniper from X amount of yards with accuracy. And thank you so very much for playing.
Well, he said a lot of things. You just say that one thing as we navigate through. Oh, and there's some other people here now showing up and pointing and other people that know far less about this than we do.
I don't know that.
No, you'd be surprised.
My background is I was working for the Dallas Police Department. I worked in the physical evidence section, which is now known as crime scene investigation. And we were, back in 1983, 84, 85, 86, I had all the physical evidence left in Dallas by the federal government on a murder of John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
Well, this is still an open, unsolved murder case.
Actually, they, from my understanding from the federal government, it is a closed case now.
But Dallas didn't close it, did they?
No, the federal government did. So it's no longer an active, ongoing investigation. However, if you talk to some of the conspiracy theorists that wander around Dealey Plaza, you get different answers.
And we just passed some, by the way. There are a few here. Well, they're tourists, but I'm sure they're here for similar reasons. It is a very historical place. It's so eerie being here, though. It really is.
It gives you a reason to pause. Yeah. I mean, this is an area in which, history was made. There had not been an execution of an executive since Lincoln.
McKinley.
Well, McKinley. But I mean, Lincoln was so
Garfield.
I mean, his was. I don't know what's the word that someone once used. Panache. With Booth firing from behind, and then leaping to the stage, and then.
Well, there's a great book called Manhunt that just came out a few years ago, and it tells the story of the whole assassination of Abraham Lincoln, which that's what got me into Kennedy's, because there's the whole Kennedy, Lincoln, Lincoln.
The parallels. Yeah.
Lincoln was
shot at Ford's Theater, and Kennedy was shot in a Ford.
Well, but there's also Kennedy had a secretary named Lincoln. Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy. They were both elected in 1960. They both year ending in 60. There's tons of
presidents were Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of parallels there, and that's what got me into the Kennedy thing. But
Lincoln freed the slaves, and Kennedy was giving the Civil Rights Act.
Well, and the other thing is that. The manhunt for John Wilkes Booth was the most giant manhunt in United States history at the time. I know what it was. The theater and warehouse. Kennedy was shot in a theater, and then his assassin ran to a barn or warehouse.
Kennedy went from a warehouse to a theater.
Yeah, exactly, and the assassin did anyway. Was at a theater and shot Tippit and all. Just a ton of parallels. But read that book Manhunt about the Lincoln assassination, because Lincoln was taken across the street to a boarding house,
right,
and put in a guy's room. Yeah, the guy's bed spread, his own personal belongings and everything. They said, "Hey, the president's been shot. Get out of here."
Pretty much.
So he had to leave for like 3 days. While Lincoln was sitting there hanging on.
Well, considering what he was shot with, I mean, if it had modern medicine, Lincoln might have survived.
Oh, he probably would have, because the school of thought was to leave it in there. And they did. Instead of taking it out, he just sort of slowly succumbed.
Let's see here. We got a couple comments. Goat says, you heard it here first. Oliver Stone is full of it. I said, yes, but a fine filmmaker. Goat says, whoa. Lucas Malagos is Oswald's Repository. Yes. As we continue.
Here's another kind of...
This is about John Neely Bryan, who's basically the founder of Dallas. So.
And I don't know if he's related to Sonny Bryan at all, but...
No, he's not. John Neely Bryan he was the founder of Dallas. He was the first settler here.
And Sonny Bryan, a local barbecue joint.
All right, 501 Elm Street, right, which is we're looking right at it from Elm in Houston. 501 Elm Street. You know whose office was in there?
No.
Abraham Zapruder.
Oh, wow. Good old Abe. Him and his family made a few coins from the...
He didn't want to make any money on that. That wasn't his thing. His whole thing. He was a dress manufacturer. He was a pattern maker, and or as we like to say, he's in the Shimata business. Because he was in the rag business,
Well, he ended up getting some money for it anyway. Got one. Thank you. Guy trying to sell us a brochure. I don't think he's associated with the. No. He made that in his basement. Again,
there are people all year long who just kind of hang out, and if they see tourists, they've got some printed materials usually to sell them. And beyond that, they will offer a tour, and they'll take them around Dealey Plaza, and very replete with all of the facts and what happened and where, and it's almost like being on a tour bus in Los Angeles or something, and that's how they make a living, is independent, of course, of the cottage industry to this day, 62 years later, of people that kind of make a living on conspiracies and conventions, and I could mention some of their names. I won't, but yeah, when you're there, you see them. And this time of year, particularly today, that place was probably wall-to-wall people gathered around Dealey Plaza.
We're kind of walking an encyclopedia on this, but well, I think we're about to go into the museum, aren't we?
We're about to go. We're going to go to the sixth floor.
So we're gonna go into the sixth floor museum. I'm gonna have to turn this off because they're very, very strict about recording devices. So we'll probably pick this up from the Spaghetti Warehouse. But they did have some very unique photographs and artifacts I'd never seen. I was really in love with the display that had all the various cameras and film cameras.
And if you're local, you know a gentleman by the name of Brett Shep. His father, Bert, was working for Channel 8 at the time, and his camera's down there as well, along with Zapruders and a lot of other Mary Mormons. Polaroid was there. So, yeah.
And the Associated Press machine, I worked in stationed. Oh no, it said Associated Press on the front of it. Yeah, I'm sure that UPI had its as well, but man, it was so awesome because I was going. I've worked at stations that had that exact same machine.
Oh yeah.
That exact machine. Oh God, a huge one. And then to read the actual teletype from that station where it was get off, get off, get off. In other words, you local stations, get your stupid news off of the ticker, so to speak. It was really awesome. Here comes our 40th anniversary colas. And
we're at the restaurant at this point, but I'd like to mention that it is an amazing museum. If you ever come to Dallas, you have to go to the sixth floor museum. It's got everything. It's got one of the place settings from the speech that there was a morning breakfast that Kennedy had spoken at. And it's got one of the place settings from that. Anything that is remotely related, they have there. And one of the things was a collection of teletype. That's how you used to get yours before computers. That's how the news networks would distribute the news to local stations. So there was a teletype machine. And when there was a major emergency, there's different sets of bells. If it's like a minor local or regional, it's one bell. If it's a major local or regional, it's two bells. If it's a minor national news story, it's three bells. If it's something big, it's four bells. I remember when the Oklahoma bombing took place, the Oklahoma City bombing took place, and the four bells went off, and none of us had ever heard that before. The whole place went crazy. And so they have, from various stations across the country, the actual teletype of the flash of the story. They used to call it a flash if it was something that would break into the normal, because you had scheduled times that you would get reports from United Press International or the Associated Press. And one of them, because the local bureaus, the state bureaus had the ability to put their own news out over the teletype because it was scheduled. And one of them, it's all marked up. You could tell that someone had marked it up because they were going to read it on the air. It just says, get off, get off, get off, get off, get off, indicating to everybody but the National News Bureau, don't put anything out. We're taking control of the news, basically, that's being dispersed. Mostly for radio, some for television. Anyway.
Took 40 years to manufacture this Coca-Cola right here. Here at the Spaghetti Warehouse. You know, there's a place in Indianapolis called Spaghetti Factory, and I think they're probably in cahoots. They make it at the factory and they store it here at the warehouse. But I got to tell you, it was pretty awesome. Really, really dug it. Very much enjoyed seeing the old Associated Press and just all the stuff there. It was great.
One thing I noticed that wasn't shown in either the video or the still photographs, they're not showing the headshot. They're not showing it. No. And so, because that's the telltale sign. When you actually see where the bullet hits, how it hits, then you make your own mind up.
Too graphic, though.
It is. Sure it is. I mean, every time I've shown that Zapruder film to high school classes, and as jaded as kids are today because of the video games and reality TV and what have you, when they actually see something like that, you still get the same reaction. You still get a, ooh, because it's real. That's not fake. That's not make-believe. That's not Hollywood.
No, and it even you can see other actual real film of people being shot. That one is even amongst those an owie. I mean, yeah, it is back and to the left.
Yeah, it's gruesome. It's very gruesome.
Well, I'm gonna shut this off so they'll come and serve us, and then we'll do more on the street maybe, and certainly on the ride back. Maybe we'll ride back through the original route and both duck our heads when we
back and to the left.
Yeah. Continuing coverage will continue shortly after we get our 3-course meal here at the Spaghetti Warehouse. So the museum bookstore that's not in the museum is in Abram Zapruder's old office. We're taking the Russian route home, does that mean we're going to be Russian back, or you're turning right? Oh, okay. We are actually taking the same route once we get on Elm Street that Kennedy took part of the way.
By the way, it might be easier for you to move that microphone back and forth.
Maybe, but I'm not gonna. I've got it set up like this.
You're so wrong.
Okay, so we're right now in the exact same lane. Yeah, that is without question. We're going under the overpass, which is always weird. Is you go under an overpass or over an underpass, I guess it doesn't matter. And then the 3 highways, what did you call it? The
triple underpass.
I got to tell you, just to pause for a second, Dave Michaels is awesome. One of my favorite people. The most fun I've ever had broadcasting has been with Dave Michaels. He's just a wonderful human being. And just glad to have him as a friend. He's just a fabulous guy.
Underpass, which Dave had several years ago, right?
Well, I only had one, and that wasn't even a bypass. I had a stent.
Dave had a quick stint in the hospital. Anyway, Dave will be doing an NBA Legends game, or what is it? A Texas Legend, NBA Legends. It's
D-League. It's the D-League.
The D used to be called the D-League.
Still is. It's developmental league for the NBA.
But it's called Legends?
The Texas Legends is the Dallas Mavericks farm team.
That's the team name. Okay. And that's just done on a regional basis, right?
As far as the television, the televised?
No, the teams.
No, most teams in the NBA have developmental teams.
Right, I know, but they don't. You guys aren't going to play the. There used to be one in Fort Wayne called the Mad Ants.
If they were associated with the Indiana Pacers, yes.
Okay. Well, no, that is one of the D-League teams. So.
Yeah, they'll play.
Okay. Well, Dave's doing that later on, but now we're on the highway, which they did not take to Parkland Hospital, did they? They did.
You're on the route that they took to Parkland right now.
Wow. I imagine there's less traffic.
On November 22, 63, there wasn't that much traffic. The building that's coming up right now that we're approaching, the Infomart, at that time in 1963 was an actual football stadium. It was PC Cobb Stadium. They have since tore that down and built what became the Info Mart, and this is kind of where the market area of Dallas starts. So you have the Info Mart, you have the World Trade Center, then where he was going to speak at was called the Trade Mart, which is next door to the World Trade Center, and then across the street from that is the Market Hall.
Where's Parkland from here?
Parkland Hospital, you'll be seeing it coming up on your right-hand side here as we're approaching it. We're on I-35E, or also known as Stemmons Freeway.
It's also known as 9 other things, because every freeway in Dallas has 5 names.
They do. The frontage road, and then there's a name for the highway, and then there's the actual number. I don't know if Dave will ever hear this, but if he did, he would concur with me. I've got to get Dave on as a guest. It'll be a 10-hour show. We can just talk forever, but Dave would tell you that I have on dozens of occasions been driving somewhere and trying to find a location, or even just getting close to one, or wondering what's the best way. Called him on the cell phone and gone, Dave, look, I'm heading down Preston Avenue and I'm going over to Briarwood College. What's the best way for me to get there? And he is instantaneous. He's like, okay, you're going to take a right on Arapahoe, and then he is amazing. Absolutely. He knows everything about Dallas. Everything.
But
if you look, okay, Tom, if you'll look out your right-hand window, you'll see the trademark, which is where these cars are right here.
Yeah.
There's Market Hall.
Yeah.
And then the building that's behind what looks like a big lipstick casing will be Parkland Hospital. So it's coming up on Medical District Drive, which used to be called Motor.
This Renaissance Hotel, is this the one that's got the big chunk of the Berlin Wall at it?
That's actually across the street. That was over here at the Anatole.
Oh, the Anatole, that's right.
Children's Hospital?
Yes, I do.
That's actually part of the Parkland Hospital complex.
Wasn't nearly as
robust.
No.
Just a small Parkland Hospital is just 4 wings, and that was it. Now it's an entire campus that goes and crosses. It crosses a couple of streets. In fact, the old St. Paul Hospital is part of the Parkland Hospital as well.
And yep, there it is. I wonder if they have any commemoration or any plaque or anything there at the hospital now.
At one time, there was a very large plaque in the entry that stated that at that particular junction on November 22, 1963, Parkland Hospital was the seat of not only the federal government but also the state of Texas government, because both John Connally, the governor of Texas, and John Kennedy were at that location at one time. So the federal government and the state government were all in one house.
You can't say Dallas doesn't love you, Mr. President. Who said it?
Famous last words known from Nellie Conley, John Conley's wife.
And she, Nellie Conley, John Conley did not live nearly as long. Is Nellie still alive, or did she just die a few years ago?
Nellie passed away a few years back.
But she lived a long time and had very outspoken about what happened that day, had a very clear recollection of everything that happened. She had her own views on, where the bullets came from and everything else, and was not shy about discussing it. She was really a tough old bird, kind of a.
Nellie Connally, the wife of John Connally, who was the governor of Texas and was shot in the vehicle along with President Kennedy just before the shots, she turned back to the president, because the streets were lined, as you've seen in the films, with well-wishers and supporters. And she turned and said, "You can't say Texas doesn't love you, Mr. President." And as I mentioned there, you can probably find interviews of her on YouTube where she is very outspoken about how many shots there were, what exactly happened. And as I mentioned, not shy about expressing her opinion.
A gal. And jerk in a Z4 just went by us. But Governor Connally, his health was severely debilitated by his injuries in the shooting. But a couple of things changed for John Connally.
The first thing that a lot of people remember about John Connally is when he was governor of the state of Texas, he was a Democrat, and he changed parties, became a Republican, and then became Secretary of the Treasury under what president, sir?
Nixon.
Yes.
I knew that because he was also very outspoken during the Watergate hearings.
He was, but who also was part of the Attorney General's office under Nixon. He just spoke to his...
Oh, that would be Morton Downey Jr. And
who was good friends of the Kennedys. Go figure.
Well, you know, politics makes strange bedfellows.
Who said that?
And I think it was, oh God, who was that agriculture secretary that was caught with the stripper out in the fountain? Anyway, Wayne.
Yeah, down with Fanny whatever at the basin.
Yeah, Wayne. I forget his last name.
I'm sorry. That was the owner of the mall.
So yes, we've done the entire tour today. We've walked the streets of Dealey Plaza. We've gone to the 6th floor museum, which was spectacular. I think Dave and I both agree that it was a wonderful experience, but for real super hardcore JFK assassination buffs like ourselves, it's a must stop. I love seeing all the different cameras, most of which were the actual cameras used on the day, both just actual snapshot cameras and movie cameras. That the average citizen back then, they didn't have video cameras. They weren't, so if you wanted motion, and a lot of people did, and there was so many varieties there. They had 10 or 12 different cameras that people used, and
well, the news cameras were 16 millimeter, and that's what the news media was using. The Bell and Howell 16, and you had the rack turret lenses, the zoom lenses, and or not zoom, but close-up lenses. Then you had what Abraham Zapruder was using, which was just an 8 millimeter. And it wasn't even Super 8. It was just an 8 millimeter movie camera.
Well, the 8 millimeter was actually a wider format than Super 8. And a lot of people, myself included, think a better format than Super 8 because of that reason. Interesting to note that one of the guys that took a lot of pictures on the day was named Charles Bronson. And he had not only... a regular camera. He had a movie camera as well. He had both, and he shot most of his still photos with an Argus, just a little Argus camera, which pretty cool little camera. So that was cool. Dave and I think both really were struck by the sword that was used or being worn by the Marine who was. He was the guy who was standing guard over the president's body in the rotunda while he laid in state, and then the thousands and thousands and thousands of people came by to pay their respects and talked about it a little bit.
Well, a lot of people don't know that that guard that stood guard over the casket, A, was changed out every 30 minutes, and B, in this particular case, we're referring to a gentleman by the name of William Lee, who was a commissioned officer of the United States Marine Corps. So he carried his Malamute sword, his saber, as part of his uniform, and he donated it, or it's on loan actually, to the 6th floor museum. And of course, it has the inscription and engraving of the United States Marine Corps in his name, and it's very, very impressive. It's a wonderful piece that the museum has. But the other side of that also is to find out through his own words, of how emotional, and you can't be when you're a guard. I mean, I think it's one thing, and I'm certain a lot of guys will say this, that stand guard. It's one thing to stand guard over a casket of a fallen soldier. It's another to stand guard over the President of the United States, which is your commander-in-chief. And in this particular case, you cannot show emotion, and which was very difficult for all those gentlemen that stood guard during the overnight and the vigil that they carried for the 2 days before the actual funeral.
Well, in Jackie, he talks about Jackie and how incredibly she looked more forlorn than any human being he'd ever seen, and how she lingered there at the casket. I thought the museum did a good job of constantly pointing out that lots of Americans disagree with the official story, and they disagree. One of the things I've always been struck by is that when the House of Representatives did their investigation in the 70s, their sound experts said there was a 95% probability that more than 3 shots were fired. And then the FBI and the Department of Justice then did an additional study saying, no, we reviewed our original study and have come to the conclusion that we've been right all along.
Yeah, and okay, so who are you going to believe? You're going to believe the guys that do this is their job, they're the experts, or are you going to listen to a bunch of idiots who are bureaucrats? This goes back to the point that I tried to make early on when we've been talking about this. The main question, again, is not the who, but the why. Okay.
But doesn't the who help you figure out the why?
Not necessarily, because, okay, it could have been anybody shooting the president. We're never going to know. We're never going to know if it was Oswald. We're never going to know if it was someone hired. It's never going to be known as to who pulled the trigger. But the question now arises as to why the trigger was pulled, and why was the head of state, the head of the free world, taken out, and especially the way that it was. You and I have stood in the 6-4. We've both stood near the sniper's perch. We both saw that if you're coming up Houston Street, you have a straight-on shot. Why do you wait till he turns onto Elm Street? Why in the world does anybody wait to shoot through foliage when you have a clean shot head-on?
Well, it's a closer shot, too. Maybe it's the down angle. I don't know. But I'm of the opinion that, yes, why is important. But I don't want to truncate the investigation of who, because I feel like that might lead you to why. I mean, if you can really find out who, and I mean really find out that path that leads you to that, I think, personally, might get you closer to why.
Possibly, but okay, here we are 50 years later. The who's really not going to matter because most of the who's are dead. So the who doesn't really matter. So now it goes back to the question as to why. Okay, let's go back as to what we were discussing during lunch when we weren't recording. Here are the reasons why you murder somebody. We talk about greed, we talk about lust, we talk about revenge. Okay, so
we sure do all the time. Not just about this.
No, but who benefits in the death of the President of the United States? Who benefited with the death of Kennedy?
Aristotle Onassis.
Only because he got Jackie out of the deal,
right.
But that's not here or there. But let's go back and let's think this one through for just a moment. I asked you, where was General Dynamics? Now, you said it was in Indiana.
No, I said Groton, Connecticut.
Groton, Connecticut. Okay. General Dynamics, their plant was in Fort Worth, Texas.
One of their plants.
The plant that was doing the F-1.
Right, but I mean, there's other, like there's submarine plants and all that are in Groton.
I understand that, but but the contract is where? For the F-1 in Dallas. Bell Helicopter, where are they located? Hurst, Texas.
Right,
okay,
but...
Let me continue. The flotation bridges that were used during Vietnam, where were they built at?
Well, I don't think it has to be in Dallas to be the global military complex.
It's not Dallas. Brown and Root. Where's Brown and Root? Houston, Texas. Who was on the...
Or in Texas in general. I don't think that has much to do with it.
Who was on the board of directors of Brown and Root?
Well, I don't know.
Lady Bird Johnson.
So now the first lady's involved in it.
Not the first lady.
Well, at the time, the second lady, or whatever they call the vice presidents.
Not the first lady. Her husband.
Right.
The appropriations for the United States military goes through who?
Appropriations go through the House of Representatives.
Exactly. And who was at the time the biggest influence in the House of Representatives at the time? And yes, he was vice president. But where did he come from?
Well, the vice president is the president of the Senate, not the House of Representatives.
But no, he was a congressman. He was not a senator.
Well, but when he becomes vice president, he's the president of the Senate.
He is. But my point being is, where does he have all this pull? With his buddies.
Well, he has a lot of pull in a lot of places if he's the vice president. But see, I don't think
you're
if you're
buying it then.
Well, no, I'm just saying that if you're going to assassinate a national figure, the whole idea of it being Dallas, Texas, or whatever, that's just the place they picked. I don't think it has to be a lot of inside dealings.
It has nothing to do with the place being that he was shot in Texas. It has to do with the fact that the vice president of the United States at the time had more ties to the military complex. Yes, grant you, they were all from Texas, if you will. General Dynamics, Bell Helicopter, Brown and Root, so on and so forth. That's irregardless. In 1962, John Kennedy already put into place that by 1965 he was pulling all the troops out of Vietnam. What happened after his death? What happened to Vietnam?
Well, he stayed there for much longer than 1965, but
We've been there since 1945.
Yes.
So
French Indochina.
So from even the Americans were in there in 45. They were.
Well, it wasn't called Vietnam at the time. It was called French Indochina.
I know, but even still, we were still involved at the time. We being the United States.
But we pulled out in 72. But the big thing is,
if until 75.
If we're gonna say that see, I just don't think that all those things. If some people, whether it's the mob, whether it's the global military industrial complex, whether it's just a crazy guy, and that's why I think that the who is important. I think that the important thing is they chose to do it in Dallas, Texas, for whatever reason.
No, the place where he was shot at had nothing to do with it. I mean, he could have been shot in San Antonio, could have been shot in Austin, Texas. Hell, he could have been shot in Washington, D.C. John Kennedy pretty much had a premonition he was going to die anyway in office.
Sure, he actually said if somebody really wanted to kill me, it wouldn't be that hard to do.
Exactly, and be it that he had an open car or where he was out and about, or it didn't matter. Taking his life was not going to be that difficult to do, and he knew that. But that's not here or there. As far as where he was shot at, where he died at, it had that has nothing to do with Dallas. It just happens to be the place at that moment on November 22, 1963. Bad place, bad timing, the whole 9 yards. It's the matter of why. The matter of why is who benefited from his death.
Well, there's a whole bunch of people that wanted him out of the way, and none the least of which was the mob, or the Teamsters, or organized crime, whatever you want to call it. I mean, and then there's like connections between Sam Giancana and JFK and the military. I mean, the military went to Giancana and asked him what's the best way to kill Fidel Castro. They were trying to get the mob to help them assassinate people, the CIA or whatever. I mean, if you're saying the why is that Kennedy just had to... Oh, and by the way, the mob was a little bit pissed off at the Kennedys over the whole Chicago thing, and Joe Kennedy basically telling them, look, you do me this favor, get my son elected, and he'll be easy on you. And then Bobby and Jack going, no, I don't think so. And sending Hoffa to prison for 5 years, and that whole thing. I mean, I think there's probably 20 reasons that politically or militarily that you can point at.
Why did Bobby Kennedy send Hoffa to jail? The Attorney General of the United States sent him to jail after the death of Kennedy.
Yep.
It was in LBJ's administration. That was not his brother's administration at the time.
Right.
So it was already... I mean, I think that's kind of after the fact that they got pissed off.
No, I think they were going to do it anyway, but I think also Bobby at that point realized that he wanted to someday be president. Jack wasn't there to help him steward his way through, and he thought, well, this is how I can make my little political legacy heading into the election after LBJ gets out of office.
Here's a thing I'd like to point out, and I should have pointed it out to Dave at the time. The Kennedys and Robert F. Kennedy as Attorney General, they were on the mob way before LBJ got in office. They didn't send Hoffa to prison, but they were cracking down and having, hearings and all sorts of stuff way before that. You can look at the mob, you can look at the CIA, you can look at the military. Kennedy had said he was going to get rid of the CIA. So, there's a reason for them. The military was being manhandled by John F. Kennedy because of the Bay of Pigs. He trusted the military. It was a complete disaster. And after that point, he was taking away a lot of the power that they had. So all three of those had reason. I think what Dave is alluding to here, and I don't want to speak for him, but I'll just go ahead and say many people believe that LBJ had a lot of incentive because he would then become president. As valid as all of those arguments are, we don't know. We're probably never going to know.
Junior lived and not been killed in the suicide mission he had while flying World War II, we'd be talking about Joe P. Kennedy as Jr. as the President of the United States instead of John F. Kennedy because of the same thing. It was a legacy.
Well, why do you think 635 is always so congested?
Okay, as we screech the gears there, boy, grind it until you find it on that one.
I'm sorry, we just ran into a huge traffic jam on 635,
It's under construction.
But it's always under construction.
Incidentally, under construction right now. There's like a huge billions of dollar reconstruction project going on right now that's been going on at the exit of 635 near where I live that I never take because it's a huge traffic jam for the three getting on to be 4 years since I came back here from Utah.
EPA project of Dallas right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if they weren't tearing this up, these poor guys they'd be out of work. Oh, wait a minute.
Look at this guy.
He's got. You got to see that. Too bad we don't have a camera. It says he needs help. He's a former vet, but his JanSport backpack is brand new. That's a bright orange pack.
We saw a guy panhandling that was dressed better than either of us. Let's see here. We've got goats laughing at when I said an owie. Bornicon is, well, I'm not going to read that one. That's sort of political. I don't talk about politics too much on this. Well, maybe 62-year-old politics, but I know it was just a joke. But anyway.
Wonder where that money went.
I don't know. I know that.
You want to see if he has a Mercedes-Benz? Right?
I know that there's something wrong with a project this large going to the lowest bidder. But anyway, I've always I used to have a goatee.
Oh, that's ugly to think about. Just
yeah, big long Jesus hair too. I have always.
Dave just saw my driver's license from that time. And I had gotten rid of the goatee and certainly all the hair because I lived in Dallas. There's way too much hair for Dallas. And he saw it, and it was shocking to him, as it would be shocking to you, I might add.
Bought into pretty heavily, as a matter of fact, the whole global and military industrial complex theory. I mean, I'm not trying to, I'm just playing devil's advocate. That makes the most sense to me.
Makes more sense than saying the Russians had something to do with it or the mob had something to do with it. Maybe to a background extent they would like to have done it, but the bottom line here is, okay, if, major if.
Well, they were pissed since the Bay of Pigs.
Well, the CIA was. Yeah. But the CIA was also going to be splintered and broken into 1,000 pieces and thrown into the wind, according to John Kennedy. Yeah. He fired John Dulles.
Well, he was wanting to dismantle. He was wanting to dismantle a lot of things that powerful people did not want dismantled.
Well, and Dulles' his right hand man was General Cabell. General Cabell is the brother of Earl Cabell. Earl Cabell's who? Former mayor of Dallas. You got another Dallas tie in there somewhere.
But
and you and I noticed that they didn't show as we were walking through the 6th floor. They showed bits and pieces of the Zapruder film, but they would show everything right up into the headshot.
Yeah, they showed bits and pieces of everything but the bits and pieces.
And I've always stated, and I will continue to state, even though there are people who will go against me and say that no, it was a lone gunman or the shot came from behind or whatever. You don't have to be a ballistics expert. You really don't. This is basic physics. If you're hit from the front, remember Kennedy had a back brace on too, so he couldn't move. There was no agility to him at all.
Well, and the first shot that it looks like he's grabbing his throat.
It went through his throat.
That is actually, but importantly, that is actually a physiological response, a neurological response of being shot where he was shot. It's called a
reflex.
Yeah, it is a reflex. Now, I've seen these crazy people talk about, well, they've shot goats and various things, and sometimes when you get shot right in the front of your head, right, I mean, in the back of the head, your body does this and about that. I don't buy it. It's never made any sense as we sit here at Vitruvian Park.
The physical reaction when President Kennedy was hit after the first bullet hit his upper back and his lower neck That is an involuntary neurological response. Many people, when they saw the film, said, well, he's trying to grab his throat or he's trying to undo his tie. Almost all, pathologists and people that have seen that film immediately identify it as something called the Thorburn position. Okay? And that's a reflex which has exhibited itself millions of times. And that's when a severe injury affects the lower cervical region of the spinal cord. So that is an involuntary muscle spasm. Most refer to it as the Thorburn position because that's what's known as. But even those who don't refer to it as a muscular spasm. There are some who believe it was a conscious reaction, but not many. Not many.
If you look at the Zapruder film closely, the enhanced version, which Robert Groden actually put together for the House Senate Committee in 1978 on assassinations, there is a frame, and there's a couple of frames where you see Jacqueline Kennedy holding on to the left forearm of Jack Kennedy, as we just discussed. He's holding his neck, he's holding his throat, because that's where the first shot came through. Came from the back, went through the front of his throat, right underneath his trachea. And she's holding on to his arm. Her face is inches away from his. When the shot comes from behind, if it's on a straight trajectory, and as they said, the bullet casing was, we have that magic bullet theory and the pristine bullet and all that BS, but if it hit the way it was supposed to hit, she would have been struck. She would have had blood all over her. As it came, as you look at the film, with her face as close to his as possible, the bullet, when it hits, his head goes straight back and the spray of blood goes up in the air, not out. Watch the film. The blood spray that we talk about, that pink burst, goes straight up.
And it is a pink burst. And we talked about the gruesomeness of it. If we really wanted to do a tour of sorrow and morbidity, we would drive by the old site of Sports Fan 990.
We did,
but I don't think we did earlier.
Yeah.
We didn't just now.
Dave and I met at the most hapless radio station that has ever existed, and it was here in Dallas, and it was Sports Fan 990. It was in the North Dallas Bank building. It's a long story. Yeah.
I wonder what's in there now.
We're in that spot?
In that spot, yeah.
I have no idea. I really don't care.
Is
the Goat's Grill says Pink Burst is my favorite candy. I've not seen that candy.
Is 990 even on the air anymore?
I think 990 is on the air, but I'm not certain what the format.
Still Spanish gospel, probably.
It's either that or Hum Tum.
Hum Tum?
Hum Tum, yeah, East Indian music.
Oh, God. Anyways, well,
I have no idea.
Let's see if we can let's put the band back together. Let's see if we can get it back on the air. Well, that's gonna.
So I can just say I'm with the band?
No, so we can, do the station the way it should have been. We can. What was it called? The press box. Was that what the first show of the day was?
Yeah, that was your first show. That was the morning show.
But anyway, well, it was a joyous day spent with Dave Michaels, who you heard about his kidney stone on last night's program, and we went down to the 6th floor museum and walked around Dealey Plaza just a few days after the anniversary. 49th anniversary of the Kennedy assassination. I guess this would be the anniversary of his burial today, right?
No, the anniversary. He died on the 22nd. He was buried on the 26th.
26th. And this is the 27th, so this would be the day after. So, sorry. But kind of in there. And it was actually pretty busy inside the museum. It wasn't out on the street. And as Dave mentioned earlier, it does get busy on the street. Yeah, anyway, that's going to do it. Continuing coverage will now end. And, hey, how you doing? And, well, that'll do it. And until next time.
I'm going to play the funny commercial again.
November 22nd, 1963. Shots ring out in Dallas.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
A mere 3 days later, a man with uncanny psychic abilities predicts the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. He was the man who saw yesterday. The History Channel presents Earl Wooten Jr., the man who saw yesterday. A human being with psychic abilities whose unerringly uncanny predictions baffle experts to this day. Predictions made mere hours after the actual events. Man reaches the moon, and a week later comes the unnervingly uncanny prediction. The Challenger space shuttle disaster predicted just 36 hours after the Challenger space shuttle disaster. And the fall of the Berlin Wall predicted only 12 hours after the fall of the Berlin Wall. Nostradamus, ancient Mayans, Edgar Cayce, and Gene Dixon can all kiss the ass of the man who saw yesterday, Thursday at 8 on the History Channel.
Want to hear how I used to end my podcasts? You know, I have 250 actual audio podcasts if you go to the TomGulleyShow.com. They're there just waiting for you. This is one of them.
We'd like to thank Dave Michaels for driving around and being seen eating lunch in public with me. And you should visit the 6th Floor Museum if you're in Dallas, or if you just want to check it out on the web, you can go to jfk.org, and we highly encourage you to do that. Folks, we'd appreciate it if you'd share this on your various Facebook pages. Trying to spread the word means trying to spread our little show here. We'd appreciate it if you'd like the Tom Gulley Show, not me, not Tom Gulley the person, but the Tom Gulley Show, the show, on Facebook, too, if the mood strikes you. And, of course, there's always the TomGulleyShow.com. That's where you can find everything about the show. I mean, everything. And if you use the mobile app, you got to go to the bottom of that and request the website. The website has so much more stuff on it than the mobile app. I'm sorry, it just does. There's the Tom Gulley Show store. I keep doing that. A lot of great stuff there. Got keychains. You know, we got a regular keychain. We got a little nicer than regular keychain. Then we got a keychain that's like $20. I mean, it's like a real keychain. We got cufflinks, whatever you need. And we always encourage you to subscribe on iTunes for free, because if it's free, it's for me. By the way,
anyway, hey, Goat Scroat says, Tom just keeps saying, hey, how you doing? Like he's seen his perfect woman. I don't know that I had seen my perfect woman, but definitely I had noticed something attractive. Whether it's a gal or what it is, I don't know. But I noticed something very, very, sharp of you to notice that, Goat. He says, great interview. If you can call it an interview. Dave and I don't really do interviews. We just have discussions. And they're fun. And I enjoy them. So if nobody's wanting to be on the show, I haven't seen anybody beckoning to get on Facebook. And I don't really think, I could check my Facebook and see if there's any potential. Goat says, I do the same, boss man. Well, don't we all? Don't we all? I don't know if I want to check Facebook and call anybody myself. So I suppose that can do it for this evening. Let me see here. And I got to open some files because I opened so many things earlier. To end the show, maybe we'll play 2 songs to end the show. Gotta Dial G for Gully will be one of them. And then what should be the other one? Should it be the one that talks about the Dabbleverse? I don't want to sully this show with a Dabbleverse song. Ew. So gross. Talk about that Dabbleverse. I'll play this one. I'll play that one there. And we'll get out of here. And then we won't see you again till Monday. I want to thank all the fine folks who donated to our effort today. Lucas Malago and Goat and Stoned Crab and the chef himself. All you fine people. Appreciate it. And hopefully maybe somebody went on to PayPal where you give the most and I get the most. Anyway, that ought to do it. So I guess the only thing left to say is till next time. We'll see you next time. Way too loud. Sorry about that.
When the night gets weird and the headlines start to twist, he's digging through the stories, finding all the things you missed, talking Super Bowl ads, old films and modern trouble. If the world's too loud, he cuts it down to the subtle. So turn that down, 'cause you know who's talking. Ooh, if there's truth in the static, Tom Gulley, from where you're looking. Ooh, you gotta dial G for Gulley. 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 Sunrise greets him with a golden crown. Tom Gulley's ready, no time to slow down. His voice a river, smooth and deep. He's got the stories that make the city weep. Walking streets where legends grow. Everywhere he stops, they already know. Tom Gulley goes to town. Oh, he lights it up, never lets it down. Tom Gulley goes to town. He's the man
What the heck?
Who's that man with the smoothest plan? Tom Gulley's got the upper hand. Oh yeah, he's got style, got brains, got a podcast too, dropping truth bombs. He's coming for you.